Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Ball. Thanks for joining us. We want to be your source for market intelligence, forecasts, and success strategies. And we're going to have some great strategies and forecasts for you today. We're going to cover the ULI PwC Emerging Trends in Real Estate. Now, this is an incredible report, comes out every year, and we have some of the experts from PwC here to go over the highlights. Please welcome Mitch Roschelle. Mitch is real estate practice leader with PwC. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Michael.
Also, please welcome Andy Warren. He's Director of Real Estate Research with PwC. Andy's also here in Studio One.
That's great to be here, Michael.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Is there a Studio 2, by the way?
There's going to be. It's going to be really huge.
It only took them a minute.
So, for the listeners and viewers who may not be familiar with it, quickly, tell us about emerging trends in real estate and how this evolved and how big is this report?
It's in its 38th year, which is amazing. So in 2 years, we're going to have our 40th anniversary. It's going to be an enormous party for that. But there's two ways that we assemble the data that's in the roughly 90 pages of the report. We do an online survey that 1,500 real estate market participants respond to. Then on top of that, we do 500 face-to-face interviews. And I say face-to-face, but in this day and age, some of them are Skyped. But think about how exhausting that is. It takes place from, I'd say, late summer into the early fall. So we try to get as close to the production date because things do happen in 1 year versus another that could happen, that could change the market. But it's, we've been doing it for 38 years, so maybe we're getting something right. And as you mentioned in the lead, it's a joint undertaking by PwC and the Urban Land Institute.
Yeah, well, it's an incredible report, and I know a lot of people are always looking forward to it coming out. And what is the mission of the report, would you say?
A couple of years ago, when we sat down with the folks, our partners from ULI, I made a comment. Most of my comments tend to be a little provocative. I'll try to calm them down for your audience, but I said, let's try to bring the emerging trends back to emerging trends, because it's called emerging trends in real estate. So we really worked hard at over the last couple of years, and I think we've been successful doing, is to find trends that are truly emerging that are going to impact the real estate world. So some of them are things that are happening in the real estate marketplace, and some of them are happening outside. I think the last one that we'll get to in the top trends deals with blockchain, and we'll talk about it then. But blockchain isn't something that's in commercial real estate now per se, but it's headed that way, and we want to be the first place you heard things. And Andy and I recently went through an exercise going back about 5 years of things we said that you heard here first. And the best example I can give you is the term 18-hour city. A couple of years ago, I think that was Emerging Trends 2015 maybe, we introduced the term 18-hour city as compared to a 24-hour city. How many Google searches exist for 18-hour city?
152,000.
Right, so we went into Google, 152,000 times people have searched 18-hour city. Andy and I like to take credit for coining the phrase, although we didn't go to the Library of Congress and get permission. But so that's exactly what it is. We hope to be able to raise points that no one's really thought of before, and maybe that's why it's been so popular for 38 years, and we thank you for always being a platform to talk about the report.
Yeah, well, my audience loves it because I think it's important. If you know what are the trends, what's going to happen, then you can help make better decisions, whether you run a company and you're looking at space or you're in the real estate business in some way. So let's go through some of the top 10 trends from the report. We'll have a link to the report if you want to read the entire thing. But number one is context, a kinder, gentler real estate cycle.
I'm going to give you a couple of sound bites, and Andy could take you into the details. Everybody has made an autocorrect mistake on their phone. The most simple one is live and love, right? You put that in the wrong context, and you can have a whole mess of problem. But right now, one of the things we're observing is that the real estate market is autocorrecting. So there are forces in place that are preventing new bubbles from being inflated, whether that be in housing, whether that be in commercial real estate. If you look at the last 4 recessions that our U.S. economy has been in, 2 of the last 4 were caused by the real estate asset class. Most recently, housing, back in the 80s, for those of you who remember the savings and loan crisis, really caused by commercial real estate and mortgage lending. So the market doesn't want to let that happen again. So we're in a kinder, gentler cycle because we're auto-correcting and we're preventing the market from bubbling up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a longer cycle, right? The good times are going to last a little longer, so that's obviously kinder and gentler.
And people are discussing whether is this going to stick around or is this a temporary function. Transparency in the market is much greater than it had been in the past. People have stopped building, maybe financing is getting a little tougher to get at this point. So those good times can continue to go on because we have not moved to that typical boom bust. So as we talk to people in the market, they're thinking, what do I do differently? Are that opportunity to get outsized returns going away because there's not going to be that bust that I can go in and pick up later? Is it going to be a function where I'm going to look more long-term in my investments?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important. I think everyone wants to know how long the good times are going to last, and this cycle is a little long in the tooth, right? So what you're saying, I guess, in trend one is that the good times may last a little longer, but just be a little slower growth, or?
We were talking in your extensive green room that's right outside there. It's lovely, by the way. Too bad it's not on camera.
Yeah.
But we were talking to James, your senior producer. Is that what? I'm going to lobby for a promotion for you, James.
Yeah.
But in any event, we were talking about this new normal. Fact of the matter is 2% GDP growth may just be the environment that we're in for a long time. Low interest rates may be the environment that we're in. They're obviously tied to one another. So the extension of a 90-month recovery becoming a 120-month recovery is not out of the realm of possibility. What's good is no one's throwing money at people to build real estate on spec. So we're not creating a new asset bubble.
Yeah.
If you look at asset valuations, they're bubbly looking, right? But there are market clearing prices. The stock market is at an all-time high, and right now, on the ticker over my left shoulder, prices are clearing the market. Willing buyer, willing seller. Commercial real estate, compressed cap rates, clearing the market. But someone's throwing equity at that at a level that we've never seen equity been part of the capital stack before, and that's just probably just where we are.
And we're looking at the market take a pause in the first half of this year, going into the third quarter now. Transactions have slowed down. Lending's a little slower than it was, and underwriting standards are more stringent.
Yeah, we certainly don't have the overbuilding that we've had in some of the past cycles for sure. Well, let's look at number 2, optionality. What does that mean?
That's anything you want, you can get. And really,
Alice's restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're all old enough.
And so
We just time-stamped ourselves.
I know, I thought I was 37.
Your parents told you about it.
Exactly.
But you look at the evolving of space and open floor plans and the technology that allows people, so you're not tied to a desk, so everybody doesn't have a desk filling up a space. So you've got this space, so now people are thinking, okay, maybe it's like factory utilization. How do I use this a little more than just 8 hours when I've got this? So you're seeing, taking that open space and maybe in the evening renting it out for receptions if you spent all this money on this beautiful location. Or on the weekends, you have a pop-up store there. It's in a good location. So it's really a lot of choices of what you can do with your space, and people are thinking about that as they're designing new buildings. They're thinking about it as they utilize. There's a lot of process of working with government agencies to get the right zoning. And then also from a use perspective, everyone wants to be flexible as to how much space they take. So, I'm going to add 150 workers. Do I just double the space I'm in now if my firm's 150? Or do I just go out and find some temporary space that I can choose and use on a monthly basis kind of to utilize that? So
flexibility is really key.
What's interesting is with office space that is at capacity, we went from 250 square foot per employee to like 138 or something like that, which means we're all busting out of the seams in traditional office space, which means if you want to move people around, you actually have no swing space, right? So there's that level of optionality where people are sort of going out and picking up short-term swing space just so they can move the pieces of the Rubik's Cube around. The other thing is where you have excess capacity in your space. So just for example, you have a studio in an office space, but the studio is only used when us good-looking folks come in. Does it make sense to rent out the studio for another purpose? I'm not trying to personalize this, but that's what's happening. People have unbelievable kitchens in their office space for when they do meetings. Could that kitchen be repurposed, to Andy's point, and you can do a small reception for some organization that just needs a place? We often use the lobby space of our headquarters in 300 Madison in New York City for not-for-profits that need just space for networking receptions and stuff like that, and we have catering in the building, and so that is a perfect example of optionality. It doesn't have to be solely the way it is.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, we license some desks sometimes to people in our commercial real estate industry that maybe need space kind of temporarily,
Right.
that they're kind of folks that we might benefit them and they might benefit us. And I think it's true. I mean, you look at the space that we were just in, the green room. It's a green room, it's a coffee shop. There's people working there. There's people eating there. Lots of flexibility going on. Well, stay tuned. We're going to have number 3 and number 4 next. Stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. Hey there, thanks for checking out the Commercial Real Estate Show. Don't miss a video of special interest to you. Be sure to subscribe below. And if you appreciate the videos, be sure and thank our sponsors. There's a link to more information about them in the description. For more videos, podcasts, and articles, check out CREshow.com.